Well, it's been a minute, but welcome back to another Top of the Pops reaction. And we have here a rather special edition, an anniversary edition, if you will. And your hosts are Kid Jensen and John Peel.
What we're celebrating is the 20th anniversary.
Yep, 20th anniversary.
Really looks fab gear. Yeah, there is that. This is very 1984, though. This Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Take it away, boys.
No Frankie. That's been cut for copyright. Not by me.
Introduce the next part of the program?
No, I don't think so.
Cameo from Alan Freeman there. By the way, there'll be no Jimmy Savile on this. I did check beforehand. So, a bit of a different sort of Top of the Pops edition, obviously. Celebrated its 20th anniversary. This edition was originally broadcast on the 5th of January 1984, so 41 years ago. And what with Top of the Pops now being or the Top of the Pops reactions, I should say, being an occasional series now, it's nice that I can find one of these special editions, particularly one that doesn't feature a certain disgraced Leeds disc jockey. So we're getting some old clips now from 1960s Top of the Pops, which I'm quite surprised about, really, because I'd have thought a lot of this stuff would have been wiped by the BBC, probably sort of mostly in the 70s. I mean, we know Doctor Who certainly certainly suffered, if I can spit it out. Lulu there with loves to love or something. I suppose there's a chance that some of these clips, the BBC at the time, what would it have been, late 83, very early 84, when they were producing this edition, would have had to source some of this from international broadcasters. Or perhaps not, perhaps I'm reading too much into the whole junking thing, and these are just what they did have available that they didn't junk.
Alan Price and Don't Stop the Carnival, and the Carnival continues here on Top of the Pops with more of the great hits of the past 20 years.
So don't worry, it's not just all quick old clips. There is like the current, as in that week in January 84's top 30 or 40, whatever it'll be, and some contemporary studio performances as well. I thought it'd be nice to do Top of the Pops reaction in early in the new year, a bit of a New Year's treat for people, and for me as well, as it's been a while. The last one I did would have been the one for my birthday, which was the June the 25th, 1981 edition.
United we stand.
Brotherhood of Man, that wasn't 60s, was it? I'm assuming some of this is 70s now, but a lot of it's still in black and white.
Edison Lighthouse with Love Grows on My Road.
I'm pretty certain Edison Lighthouse was 1970. But I think I reacted to an edition of Top of the Pops where that was #1. Go back in the Top of the Pops reactions playlist to check. So it was 70 or 71. Oh dear, well, it's not completely sex pest free, this reaction, I'm afraid. Oh, fortunately, we don't get much of him. Yeah, this is now into the 70s, certainly.
Everybody get together by those masters of melody, the Dave Clark 5.
Although Dave Clark 5, that'll be 60s again, won't it? These don't seem to be in any order, do they?
Now here's a good one, Thin Lizzy and Whiskey in the Jar.
70s something, of course, Thin Lizzy. I'm wondering if they're deliberately showing some of these clips in black and white just so that they match up with all the ones that are only available in black and white.
Sweet and their epic blockbuster.
That's about as 1970s as it gets. Some glam rock from Sweet.
Finally, the Beatles summing up a decade.
Oh, now will this be cut? So paranoid about Beatles music on my channel now. It's just a non-starter.
Exactly the black and white minstrel show, but rather a top of the pops look at the 1960s. We'll look at the 70s a little later, but now top of the
Well, some of that was 70s.
This week at number 5 with Margarita.
Alright, here we go. Here's one that would have been in the chart at number 5 to be precise on this week in January 84. It's Margarita Time by Status Quo. Don't know if this gets much higher, as I always do. The peak chart position and any other interesting information that I can glean about the track or the band will be on the info bar running along the bottom there. I mean, I would have talked about and given information about Status Quo in previous reactions. This won't be the first time I've reacted to them, I'm certain of that. Status Quo, they're one of those bands that highly unfashionable. I'm not that I'm a dedicated follower of fashion in the sartorial sense, or indeed in the musical or any other sort of sense, really, but they're just very of their ilk, of their genre. But they did come out with some half-decent songs. I would say this is probably one of their better singles, really. One that maybe doesn't sound too much like what came before it and what no doubt came after it. As I think that was my biggest problem with Quo over the years, is that a lot of their stuff just sounded the same to me. Would have been a bit over 2 years away from my personal favourite Quo single, although I know it's one that a lot of the Quo diehards don't actually like, In the Army Now. Of course, that was a cover version, which I never even realised up until relatively recent years, written by the Bolland brothers, Dutch songwriting and production partnership. Don't know if they recorded the original version, but they definitely wrote it. It might have been another Dutch act who originally recorded In the Army Now. I won't worry too much about it because that's not the song that we're watching right now. This is of course Margarita Time. Is this a cover version? I want to say no it isn't, but I may be wrong, so I'll leave a correction somewhere on the info bar if it turns out this is Quo doing another cover. Some of the band members having some shenanigans on stage there. Why not? It's a party. A post-Christmas party, post-New Year's party really, although I get the feeling this might have been taped in late 1983.
Status Quo and Margarita Time. Back in the 1970s, Top of the Pops was introduced by Whole Lotta Love by CCS, and this was a band that was led by Alexis Corner, who died recently. He was a good man, and he'll be very much missed. Going to go back to those memories now. One or two sequences in colour, and I think you're going to find this very interesting, a little nostalgic.
So yeah, even though we did see some 70s stuff in the so-called 60s section, they're actually showing some 70s stuff in colour now. What looks to be an old title sequence, although not one I'm familiar with, to be honest. So perhaps that was specially made for this.
Deep purple with one of the year's biggies, Black Knight. I know for the hard rock and heavy metal nuts, Black Knight's
you know, quite an important single, but it's never done anything for me. Nor of Deep Purple in general, to be perfectly honest.
Slade, now back in the charts, of course, 'Cause I Love You.
'Cause I Love You, 1971. I think that was Slade's first UK #1. First of quite a few. I mean, they were maybe the biggest British singles act of the 70s, certainly. You know, T-Rex maybe pushing them a little bit in that respect.
From Ashton, Gardner and Dyke.
Not familiar with this at all, to be honest. Ashton, Gardner and Dyke.
Roy Wood, Wizard and the Ballpark Incident.
Ballpark Incident from Wizard in 72. With a rather blurry tinsel board around it.
Here's another unforgettable haircut. Alvin Stardust, My Cuckoo.
My Cuckoo. Sounds like a euphemism, doesn't it? Alvin Stardust kind of mixing a sort of rock and roll sound with a glam sensibility there. Oh, well, yeah. Well, we saw Jonathan King earlier, so yeah, I suppose it was inevitable we might see another 70s sex fest in Gary Glitter here. I think this was, it might have got to #1, but it was Christmas #2. I only remember that from a couple of videos I did a few years ago where I showed all the Christmas #2s that narrowly missed the #1 spot at Christmas time in between 1960 and 2009, I think I did. They'll be in my music trivia playlist, I think. All the playlists, go and look at all my playlists on the channel. Cliff there, Devil Woman.
Hit me with your rhythm stick, Ian Dury and the Blockheads.
Yep, Ian Dury and the Blockheads from 1978. Good single, lot of fun. Don't absolutely love it. No, I just want to know Nick's vinyl butt he loves. He seems to acquire a new copy of this single every time he goes to a record fair or something. Cars, of course.
Rolling Stones, Sandy Shaw, The Drifters, Elvis Costello, Boney M, and David Essex. Moving ever onward, here are some of the chart names of the 1980s. Paul McCartney, still coming up.
Coming up from 1980, Macca.
What a treat, eh? Tainted Love, Soft Cell.
Massive single, of course, and this was a cover version, as I think most people know by now. But Soft Cell really made it their own.
And finally, Dexys Midnight Runners and Come On Eileen.
Dexys.
Play that banjo, son.
Featuring the Emerald Express, I think that was credited as. So yeah, it's, apart from the Status Quo performance and a few links from Jensen and Pearl, it's not been a massively special edition so far. You know, it's just been a glorified clip show, really.
Actually, my favourites weren't there either.
He still misses the Osmonds, especially Little Jimmy. Now let's look at our new expanded top.
Oh, new expanded. So this might have been the very first week Top of the Pops ever showed a top 40. Here we go.
All night long, Lionel Richie. The Jingle Bells are at number 38 with Christmas Spectre. Chart re-entry at 37 for Black Lace and
Oh God.
Lionel Richie again, 36, a chart entry with Running with the Night. At 35, Top of the Pops New Boys, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. At 34, Waterfront from Ones to Watch, Simple Minds. Elvis Presley's at number 33 with I Can Help. Still at 32, Sweet Surrender from Rod Stewart. At 31, Right by Your Side, Eurythmics. At number 30, it's Karma Chameleon, The Culture Club. Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson at 29 with Say, Say, Say. At 28, up one for Tears for Fears, The Way You Are. At 27, That's All from Genesis. And at number 26, Frank Kelly, and here he is with...
Oh, brilliant! Frank Kelly on Top of the Pops. Well, Christmas Countdown. Of course, Frank Kelly, Irish actor, comic actor, but I think he had some serious roles in his long career. But most famous to certainly everyone my generation, and probably before and after, as the legendary Father Jack Hackett from Father Ted.
The 6 geese have not alone nearly murdered the calling birds, but they've laid their eggs on top of the vet's head from the pair tree, and his bill was 68 pounds in cash. The mother is munching 60. Never
realised Frank Kelly had actually done a studio performance on Top of the Pops. I knew he'd had this single out. Not sure I've ever heard it. I probably have many years ago.
We cannot use the bathroom now as they've gone completely savage and rushed the bathroom.
I will put the chart position up. Oh, well, that got cut rather quickly. I don't know if that was for copyright, but we're back on the chart. Bit disappointed. I wanted to hear the rest of that, but it was good to see Frank Kelly, Father Jack, on Top of the Pops.
22, Shaky Stevens, Cry Just a Little Bit. At 21, Dennis Waterman and George Cole, What Are We Going to Get Her Indoors? At 20, Merry Christmas Everybody from Slade.
That'll be a reissue.
At 19, it's Cool and the Gang with Straight Ahead. At 18, Roland rapping, It Ain't Nothing But Fun. 17, still with Many Rivers to Cross.
Great single that, Many Rivers to Cross.
Pretenders and 2000 Miles.
Another good single.
15,
Nice festive one from the Pretenders.
14, Uptown Gal, Billy, Mr. Rhythm, Joel. At 13, Cliff Richard and Please Don't Fall in Love. It's Tina Turner at number 12, Let's Stay Together. And at 11, Thriller, Michael Jackson.
Thriller creeping up there.
Your Rhythm Pals first dip a couple of years ago.
You're not going to tell them about the trusses, are you? Don't tell them.
No, the video top 10, and here's the first one of the new year.
Alright, okay, so top 10 already.
Number 10, it's one-man band Howard
But we're getting video clips of them all, so that's quite nice. What Is Love, good single, I like this. This gets higher, I think. I would have thought top 5, at least.
What do you say?
At number 9, lurching up from 22, it's Pipes of Peace, Paul McCartney, Sock It To 'Em.
Well, up from 22.
Will someone save this planet?
So Macca's got a couple in the top 40. Say, Say, Say and Pipes of Peace. As has Michael Jackson, Say, Say, Say and Thriller. It's alright, Pipes of Peace. I don't dislike it, it just doesn't absolutely thrill me. Yeah, I don't think he was the world's best actor, was he? Paul McCartney.
Thompson Twins are at number 8 with Hold Me
Thompson
Now.
Twins, Hold Me Now at 8. I like this. My favourite Thompson Twins single has always been You Take Me Up. I think that's an absolute 80s classic. But Hold Me Now is decent.
At number 7, it's Islands in the Stream, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. That's Ken on the right.
Oh, thank you for that, John. Yep, Parton and Rogers, Islands in the Stream. Sampled, well, it would have been about 15 years later by Pras Michel for Ghetto Superstar. Oh, Billy Joel also with 2 in the top 40. Not a Billy Joel fan. Never liked him. The only one of his I could vaguely tolerate, really, I think was River of Dreams, and even then I wouldn't say I was overly keen on it.
Status quo at number 5, The Margarita Time.
Looking like the cast of Heidi High there. Status quo, I'm sure that's deliberate.
At 4, it's Victims from Culture Club and Co.
Culture Club and Co. with Victims, okay. Didn't think this got that high really, but obviously it did. This is the official Gallup, I think it would have been at the time, BBC used chart.
Love of the Common People at number 3.
Love of the Common People at 3. I quite like this. I wouldn't say I was overly fond of Paul Young, and I've made a point to avoid his cover of Joy Division's Love Will Tear Us Apart for all these years. But I always thought this was quite a pleasant enough track.
And still at number 2, it's Slade, and here they are with...
And Slade with 2 in the top 40. We get a studio performance. I love this. I get the feeling... I mean, I don't know if I've reacted to it, to be honest, on a TOTP reaction such as this. But this is just one of my all-time favourite singles. It's definitely my favourite Slade single of all time. And it was unlucky not to be at Christmas number 1. I think it spent 3 consecutive weeks at number 2. This was probably its 3rd and final week, I'm guessing. And I won't say what stopped it from being Christmas number 1 in 1983, because I get the feeling we're going to see that next. Yeah, just hands in the air, scarves in the air, whatever you want in the air. Feel free, air's free after all. But just an anthem really. And Slade's biggest hit in a good few years. I mean, they were on the comeback trail certainly by the early 80s with their Reading Festival appearance. But this was their first top 10 single, I think, since, I don't know what their last one would have been, but it would have been since the late 70s at the very latest. Yeah, it's just got to kind of play this at a football match sort of feeling, although they play all sorts of crap at football games now, don't they? But like a proper stadium anthem for me. Plenty of Slade scarves in the crowd there. Yeah, always loved this, always will. And it was a shame it wasn't Christmas number 1, but I do like what was the 83 Christmas number 1, so I can't resent it too much. Yeah, I don't know anyone can dislike this. I know die-hard Slade fans, and I'm not. I don't even own any of their albums. I do own this single on 7-inch though. But I can understand why proper Slade fans would prefer their 70s output, but for me this is their best work, you know. But obviously I'm not speaking from a position of expertise there. I'm just somebody who just loves this song. Lovely drum section there. Fantastic, fantastic, love it.
I must say, it's always good to see Slade on top of the pops. Hey, Feely, what's number 1?
Possibly number 1 since you and I were about that tall.
Oh, Flying Pickets.
Flying
Yep.
Pickets.
Flying Pickets, Only You. It was the 83 Christmas number 1, and it's still hanging on there in early January. And it's a cover of the Yazoo song that came a year or so, maybe a bit more before it. They did a lot of Top of the Pops studio performances. I think they did like a sort of different kind of one every week while it was number one, and they had different costumes and effects and stuff, but they've shown the promo video, which seems to be set in some rather dank, dour 1980s pub. Yeah, deserved Christmas number one. You know, really festive, even though it's not a Christmas song. It's a cover of a synth pop hit, but they make it festive somehow. Love it. So, I believe that this episode, unfortunately, will cut off quite soon, so I'm probably in need of saying my goodbyes now. So no credits or anything to talk over. I think it might have been a Kool and the Gang hit that you saw the audience dancing to that ended this episode. All the information is available online. But I will say my goodbyes. Thank you all for watching this one, and please join me again, whenever that might be, for my next Top of the Pops reaction. Cheers everyone. See ya!